Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Q&A where we talk about direct current and how direct current changes everybody's life, whether they're an athlete, whether they're a patient, but getting back on their feet and being better at what they do. I'm Jake, and with me, as always, is the Tin Man, the Maverick, Matt Dell. Matt, good to see you.
I love it. The Tin Man. Look at that intro. Just
I
because
can't
I don't
hold
have a heart, you don't have to tell the whole world I don't have a heart.
Well, I think most of the people know.
Anybody that knows me knows I don't have a heart, so that's good.
I would agree. But someone who does have heart is going to be on this show in about a minute and a half.
I love it. I love it. Let's get
I'm
going
told,
because go ahead, Jake.
I'm told you have questions that are going to make him cry. I have a wager. I say $5. It's not going to happen.
I don't know. I'm hearing he just gave us a 10-second overview. He just came off of a doubleheader, which means he's probably tired.
Might be some emotion there. Yep.
Exactly.
I'm gonna double down and say $10 that you're gonna cry, 20 that I cry.
Okay, good. I'll take that bet. That's good.
All right. Let's go.
Who do we got today, Jake? Tell everybody who we got.
You got it. So today we've got a guest who's been throwing heat both on and off the field. A pitcher who's made batters rethink their career choices. His 95-mile-an-hour fastball has left many hitters seeing stars and booking therapy sessions just to cope with mental trauma of facing him. From his time with the LA Angels to the Philadelphia Phillies, and now with the Chicago White Sox, he sent more batters back to the dugout feeling emptier than Matt Dell's hollow black heart. And the fastballs that leave hitters frozen at the plate, wondering if they should have stuck to their career in accounting. But beyond the strikeouts and the high-speed drama, his journey is all about resilience, determination, and the relentless pursuit of greatness. Whether it's bouncing back from injuries or facing the grind of pro baseball, he's shown that success isn't just about throwing strikes. It's about keeping your head in the game and your mind in the right place. So, Matt, let's prepare to lock and load, cuddle up with your favorite teddy bear, and prepare yourself for an episode filled with fastballs, life lessons, and the kind of mindset that makes you want to throw your own curveballs in life, because this is one episode that we don't want to miss. Everyone, please give a warm welcome to number 60, Justin Anderson.
On the ground, this could do it. Anderson will walk it over to first, and history will have to wait. Because the Sox, with a comeback in the 8th inning, they get the 3-2 win and win the opener of this 3-game series. And he does win. Really kicked it. And he did. Strike 3. Over. This is 1-2. But it's out. He struck him out. Niner tried to hold up. That'd been his 95-mile-an-hour fastball. Trying to check. He ought to just fourth. Down he goes, 95-mile-an-hour fastball.
Man, that was a pretty sweet video.
It was easy with that type of material.
That was awesome.
Justin, what I love about that intro is it didn't look like you gave up any home runs. It's just strikeouts.
That's all you want to see is punch outs.
Right.
Exactly. I love it. So, well, welcome. I mean, I had the luxury of speaking with you for 30 seconds to let you know that our goal is to make you cry today. But I didn't want to ask these questions. You came off of a doubleheader. Before we even get going, I've got a ton of questions for you. But if you could just give us a little background, where you're from, your journey to the league, and just share with our listeners a little bit about yourself, if you could.
Yeah. So I've been playing baseball for as long as I can remember when I was 4 years old and whatnot. And kind of always wanted to have that be my career choice. It's just something that it was always on my heart and always on my mind that I wanted to do. So I would say in high school, I probably started noticing that I could really take it to the next level. And then I started getting some, I got some college offers, and then I was like, I was for sure like all in that I could do this. And then got a few scouts that came to watch me in high school as well. So that kind of even put your eyes on the prize, later down the road a little more, so that there's other people that see that you have potential just to make it, just to get drafted and have an opportunity in professional baseball. And then, 3 years at the University of Texas San Antonio. And then after that, I got drafted in the 14th round with the Los Angeles Angels. So just getting drafted first and foremost was, that was a big step. That's always it's always kind of like, I guess, the phrase getting your foot in the door type of thing, beginning your, get those footprints going. So, I mean, that's kind of when it all started back in 2014, getting drafted and, like I said, getting into pro ball, and then kind of just working my way through the system. I was a starter for, what was it, about 2.5 years-ish, kind of, sort of. And then I went straight to the bullpen in 2017 or I guess fall. It'll be the fall of 2016. I went to the fall league in 2016, and they had that's where I really started my bullpen journey. And then 17 full go in the bullpen, and kind of ever since then, it's really that's been it. Was fortunate enough to debut in 2018. A year later after that, I had made a few mechanical changes with my agent that offseason prior, and it really accelerated a lot of things in my delivery and a lot of my velocity, my command wise. So just when I did those small adjustments, that allowed me to take that real big step forward and really get my big league career going. And then kind of from there, it's been, it was good. Those first 2 years were pretty good. My second year was a little rough. We had a lot of weird things happen that year. I battled some weird injuries that year. So it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't anything like I wanted to finish. And then going into 2020, COVID happened. We get sent home and stuff. And then I go back out to, California for where we were doing our, we call it the summer camp. Mm-hmm. At that time is what we had. Everyone was just giving it the phrase. We do our first big team inter squad, and then I kind of go out there. I throw my warm-up pitches, nothing's wrong, and then I throw one pitch, and next thing you know, I'm on the shelf with a torn UCL ligament. So that kind of put a damper on a lot of things career-wise, especially. Miss that whole season, miss a ton of 2021. And then I was fortunate enough to pitch at the back end of 2021 with Texas. Texas had given me a 2-year deal and a 2-year minor league deal back in January of 2020. So they knew that I was just going to rehab with them for most of the time during the entire TJ process, which was really, really great. I got to work with them for a whole 8 months, pretty much right when I had started my throwing program too at that time. So I was really fortunate that, one, that they gave me that 2-year deal, and then two, that they were as, I guess lenient is the word, because at that time too, I was, my wife was pregnant. And so they were pretty lenient with me as far as if I had to go do a baby visit or baby checkup or do this with my wife for our baby. They were really on board with making sure we took care of that first, kind of, and then we continued to take care of everything. So I was very blessed and very happy with how the organization handled all that. So then the next year comes in. It's kind of like the year that I'm supposed to break back into the league finally, and then this is kind of actually where I wish I had known about ARP Wave a little sooner, especially because of a lot of the healing components that the unit can provide for you. I had a low grade 2 subscap strain, and I don't know if there's people out there who've ever had those before, but for some reason, at least mine in particular, it was so weird because I'd woke up the next morning like I woke up from pitching any other time. It was just my third game of that season, and I thought my right arm just got hit by an absolute 18-wheeler. It was it was a weird feeling that I've never felt before. And the feeling was only there for 3 or 4 days. But after that, it was just, I couldn't throw a baseball. At the release, it was I'd get to release it, and it was pain. So then went through that whole process, tried to come back in 2022, ended up re-injuring it in the middle of the rehab in July that year. And once they got to that point, we read the MRI again, and they were just you're going to be shut down for good now. You're done for 5 months. So I was done for 5 months, and then, kind of had a lull where I didn't have a job for about 6.5 months after that. Once that season was over, that off season, then 23 is going on, and I still don't have a job. So it was tough. It was really hard. And then, I finally got a job. I landed a job with Kansas City, and they gave me a job for basically half of the season, and kind of after that, that's where it kind of brought us to where we're at today. We're here in 24. I was with Chicago White Sox last year. I'm still with them right now, and I'm just here in AAA with them at the moment. So I mean, things have been progressing. Body and health wise, I'm very, very thankful that I'm at where I'm at, physically at least. So physical wise, I'm in a really, really good spot. Mentally, I'm in a good spot too, working through some things on the field as far as, playing wise.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, physically, like I'm in a really good spot where I'm at with my career.
That's great. So I got to ask, where are you from originally? Where'd you play high school ball? And
Oh, I'm sorry. From Houston, and I played at St. Pius High School.
Okay, cool. Well,
You're
good.
in Houston right now, aren't you, Matt?
I am in Houston right now. So,
No way.
Yeah, too funny. I don't know how. I mean, it rains every freaking day. I don't know how you play baseball. It's crazy.
Hey, I've been lucky. I've had an indoor facility my entire time I train in the off season, so I don't have to really worry about the rain too much.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's like clockwork. It's like it's
yeah.
worse in Florida in the summer because it's
Man, I don't know if it's worse than Florida. I was just there.
I know it's pretty brutal.
It's starting to rain right now, actually.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, what a journey. So we at 30 seconds, it sounds like you came off of a double header, the grind of what you just described and the journey and the tenacity that you have to have. Because I've seen it. I've got friends that have, gone in the league and, you go, it is an absolute grind to get to the show, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable how many people and players and kids are, chasing that dream. And, it sounds like you've just had that, tenacity to keep grinding and get through these
Mm-hmm.
injuries. And that leads us to, love to find out when and how you discovered direct current. We're getting, it's still, I like to say it's the best kept secret. I say that almost on every time I talk because it's amazing still, like, your journey, and then you discover it. If you could tell us and share with us a little bit how you came to find out about direct current and ARP Neuro, and, how did that incorporate into your, current process to be healthy?
Yeah, so I think I'd actually heard about, ARP Wave specifically probably a few years ago, and just didn't really dive into it too much. Just realized, just kind of understood that at the base of it, it was, just a TENS unit, right? And I didn't really go any further than that. And then last season in 24, I had a teammate, Michael Soroka, kind of lived and died by it. And guy used it every single day. Like I've worked with Jake this entire time since I've started using it. But I mean, Soroka's was using it for working out, using it for recovery, using it for warm up and stuff. And, Jake and I talked how, like, specifically for my case right now, we just want to use it for, warm up and recovery purposes. And then off season comes, talk about other things like to go along with it. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I talked to him a lot about it, and he kind of he sold me a little bit on it. Cause he kind of talked to me how he got his from, back home in Canada where he's from and whatnot. And I think he said he got it from some hockey players, and some hockey players were really big on it too. And it's like, well, those dudes are. The way I kind of looked at it was like, as old as they get in their careers, they're still playing hockey. They're still out there moving fast and trying to keep it with the young guys too. So, in a sense, for me, it was about it turned into like the central nervous system. How do I continue to get my central nervous system to keep firing?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like I said, I talked to him about it. He told me that he thought it'd be great for me. So I kind of went all in from that point. And then I had another teammate, Cameron Boozer. I talked to him quite a bit about it too, and he had a bunch of good things to say. I had used his unit a few times in spring training. He let me use it, and the times I'd used it, I was like, man, actually, I feel a little more looser, feel a little more opened up right now. So that's kind of where my journey in that aspect really started from. And I want to go back to Soroka. Soroka had a small injury with us last year, and he just came back. He came back quick. I didn't think he was going to come back from, as quick as one. I didn't know if he was going to be able to finish the season. And then two, he did finish the season with us, and he came back. He was really, really good for us. So it's just kind of like you see small things like that, small things of success. And it's like, man, I think I should, getting to the point where I need to try to do something different, especially for my body and advance my career as fast as I can. So that's when I kind of went ahead and dove all in with you guys here. So I mean, like right now, I have no complaints. I've worked with Jake a lot and using different modalities with the unit, especially too. That's what's been helpful.
That's great. We had a call, our internal call yesterday with our team. And if I don't ask this question, then I'm going to get slapped in the hand. But
yes,
we have one of our guys that is wanted me to ask. He knows that your velocity has increased dramatically up to 5 miles per hour, and I'd be remiss if I didn't bring that up and ask. Share with based on the strengthening, and I'll let Jake dive into what's happening. And it sounds like you're very knowledgeable on the body and but tell us a little bit about that experience and how that feels, knowing that you're strengthening all these areas that you may have had some compensation and now growing better and stronger.
Yeah, it was just I came into the season a little underweight, and then I slowly got it back up, and then it was still just I was moving slow. The normal quickness and fluidity that I was having on the mound to create my my normal velo, it wasn't there, and so that's around that time is probably when I reached out and I got the unit sent out to me and I started using it. And then I started using the unit maybe about a week or two after using it. Like everything started kind of picking back up. I was throwing back to my usual like mid 90s at least, which was great. And then I was starting to have a couple other games where I was just sitting strictly like 96 finally again, which is that's kind of my normal, is sitting anywhere from like 5 to 6, 5 to 7 at 95, 97 at least. So definitely when the unit got in my hands, that's what I was solely really focused on too, was just how can I get the wiring, back? How can I get that all the fast switch back and going? And then we talked about a few placements to put the pads, whether it be warm up, recovery, or just kind of, as I just like to say, like sit and chill with it. 'Cause there is a setting on there where you can kind of just sit and chill and there's no, you don't feel any of the tens happening.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's, learning about all those things and when to use them and how not to just really overuse it too has been the most beneficial. And then now since using it, like I haven't had any issues where I've been looking at my velo and be like, dang, what the heck happened? Like I was just this, I was this, now I'm back down, So since I've been using the unit, at least everything's been staying, pretty even keel with it. And I'm very thankful for that. And, just being able to use the unit for different, like understanding different, what's the word I'm trying to say? Different areas, I guess, of improvement on my body, at least to help fire those, get that nervous system firing in different parts to make sure it's all connected. Definitely.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. I mean, the technology that's been around for a while, it's still, as I said, the best kept secret, but it can help so many different areas. And as a pitcher, obviously, you're incorporating everything,
Yeah.
From the feet all the way up. I mean, everything has to be in working order, and this can strengthen, and just heal. We've heard it all the time, right? Especially, pitchers or runners or athletes or whatever. It's just the recovery aspect of it. And it sounds like you're hitting all of it, from the performance, the recovery. And I think it's always exciting. It's almost as if getting into the off season when you get to kind of focus on performance, and then coming in next year, it's exciting to know that this thing can do so many different things to you, or
Definitely.
for you. So yeah, I think some of these injuries, it sounds like you're almost a doctor too, because you're throwing out some terms that it's way above my pay grade. Jake probably understands them a little bit more, but Jake, did you want to kind of dive in a little bit on some of these?
So first off, just on the side note, I mean, Justin does know, he knows his body, and I will say, for that point, a lot of pitchers do, and that makes this really easy, because you don't really have to. There's not a lot I have to say. I could just kind of, go here and here. I could give him muscles, and he knows exactly where that's at. So that definitely makes it easier. It's not a difficult device to use. But it
Jake,
certainly
I got to interrupt you for a second. It sounds like you're throwing some of these NFL and NHL and NBA guys under the bus a little bit.
You trying to get me in trouble with all the NFL guys?
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
they're a lot bigger than me, and they're going to come over. That's why I don't tell anybody where I live.
Good point.
Baseball players are in a different level as far as that's concerned, and it's specifically the pitchers. It's been refreshing in some cases because a lot of you pitchers have taught me some things on how to use the device. One in particular was the sweeping motion, where we used to use it for a search, with the clamshell pad. And I know, Justin, you're doing the sticky pads. We talked about that.
We did,
That's traditionally how we've done the warm-ups. And in Justin's case, he was always strong. It wasn't a strength issue. It was more of, like you were talking about, there was just little rewirings that we had to do. And Matt, I'm going to use your analogy, where it was just kind of like re-sparking, kind of getting the spark plugs going again. As soon as that happened, all your strength, all your athleticism, it was already there. I think sometimes, with certain people, it's getting the mindset of like, don't overuse this in the sense of like, let's make it a performance tool. The performance tool really is the rewiring stuff. Off season, you can go into the deeper, more intense, but for elite athletes, I've never recommended that. It's about how is recovery? How are you warming up? What are you using it for to neurologically, connect and make sure that muscles are firing, and you don't have the dormant muscles that make you feel sluggish, like Justin talked about.
Right.
Again, it's an easy device, but it does help when somebody like Justin, who probably could have a different career choice outside of pitching, but I'm pulling for you in pitching, bud.
Yeah, we still got some gas in the tank. We're good.
So on some questions, I mean, tell, because I'm intrigued as a reliever, right? I mean, it's like that's more challenging than a starter, because now you got to be prepared mentally and physically every day. Because do they rest you as a reliever? Do you kind of have to be prepared every day? Tell our listeners a little bit about your mental side of, okay, I could be asked to come in at any point. How does that work?
Yeah, so I always make this joke with people that when you're in the bullpen, you're your own team. It's you and it's you and the 7 other guys, or whatever, 8 other guys that are in there with you, and it's kind of like that. You're out in the bullpen, or I guess some places you're on the field. There's those. I don't think there's many of those left, thank God. Yeah. But you're in the bullpen by yourself with these guys, and you're just way the heck out there trying to watch the game. Sometimes you can't see the game, and I would say most of the stadiums now you have a TV, so you're watching the game kind of on TV, tracking it that way, so you can actually see what's going on. But that's probably the hardest thing. It's you don't know, like I said, you don't know when you're coming in the game. It could be some guys it could be the 3rd inning, some guys it could be the 9th inning. There's just such that wide range, and depending on what the team needs in that aspect of the game, whether starter kind of had a rough one, and so you got to go out, get some guys out there to go try and eat some innings for the game, pretty much, and then hopefully it keeps us in the game, so that way we can continue to, like, we can roll the rest of the guys out there just for 1 inning at a time, ideally. But when that phone rings in that 6th or 7th inning, I mean, it's the one of the most Pavlov dog things you've ever seen. I'm not kidding, and it doesn't matter where you are. Guys always joke about that. That phone ring is the instant, like, anxiety, and it's not the bad anxiety. It's usually a good anxiety. But it is. It's funny. I mean, nobody gets to ever really see it. Nobody ever gets to talk about it as much. But when that phone rings, everybody's world stops for 4 seconds until, hey, get hot. Hey, so-and-so, start moving around. Hey, do this, do that. It's, when that phone rings, that's kind of that's sometimes, like, for me, I don't drink caffeine at night, at least, anymore for games. I don't drink coffee or pre-workout like some guys still do. Some guys don't. I got to the point where I was like, I don't need it anymore. I don't want it, because I want to be able to sleep after the game too. So for me, like, that phone rings, that's like one of my instant, like, wake up calls, no matter even if the phone's for me or not. But
right.
But you hear that and bam, like, that's what it sounds like. It's just like blah, blah, blah. It's real loud, and you're like, I'm ready. So, like, when that phone rings and you get up to the, like, for us, we go up to we call it up top to where our bullpen is. You go up top to the bullpen, and next thing you know, you're rocking and rolling, then you could be in the game, you know, in the span of after 5 throws on the mound. Sometimes it could be, you know, 20 throws on the mound. It just kind of depends how the inning ends up shaking out or that half shakes out. So I would say for me, like the biggest mental thing is, you know, that phone rings, it's time, it's ready to go. And then usually by the time I make it, I would say usually by the time I make my second warm up throw, mentally, I'm probably locked in. The first one, I think I'm usually like, all right, let me get the gears loosened up again real quick. And then the second one kind of helps too. And then after that second one, I'm like, all right, we got to lock in and, you know, kind of get going here. So as far as like that mental side of it goes, when that, you know, in the middle of the game, that phone rings, that's kind of where all the prep that you've done before that, that's where all that kind of just takes over.
Oh. I think you said so much that Matt literally froze himself. You know, I've always wondered, just, you know, kind of growing up as a kid and then, you know, knowing I played Little League as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always a thought. What was it like your first time coming from the bullpen and literally you're called and you're walking out into the stadium, you know, in front of a lot of people, and now you have to pitch?
So my first time, like, I mean, honestly, every time's kind of the same now. It feels like, but it's like your first time, it's your first game. You're a rookie. You don't really know what to expect. You just go out there and like, all right, I got to ask a pitch. I got to go pitch. So I mean, my first game was in Houston the year after they had won the World Series, and coming to the game in the 8th inning, it's a 2-0 game. So it's like it's already a close game,
Yeah.
and you know, you come in, I personally don't ever really hear anything. I don't ever hear any. I don't hear the crowd generally. I don't hear, you know, the dugouts. I'm just pretty zoned in and locked in, just focused on what I have to do for that inning. And so like now as I've gotten older, I've a lot more experiences, you know, especially just different environments too, different stadiums. You just learn to I always have a place that I know I can look in the stadium. I always find a spot, like after my warm-up pitches, I always find a spot somewhere in the stadium that kind of is the spot that just regathers me real quick
Got
for
it.
2 seconds. If there's like something that's going on in the inning, then I'm like, all right, I got to take, you know, a couple seconds to pause here, regather my thoughts, regather my mind, and, you know, get back to it. So I would say that's, you know, for me, that's what I do at least. And, you know, there are some other stadiums where it's like, you definitely do have more adrenaline because of the environment that you're already in, especially if you're just coming from the bullpen, like Boston, New York in particular.
Yeah.
I mean, those are some of the main ones I would say, just because, you know, in Boston, you're in the bullpen, you're in the bullpen right there in right field. They're in your hip pocket. They don't have a choice, you know. So
I can see that even as a spectator in Boston.
It's really special though. Like I would say Boston fans are pretty good though. Like I've had times where like they don't say anything at all, and then other times they'll rag you, but like their ragging is like the ragging that I've received from them. It's been all fun and games, nothing crazy. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's all simple. And then you go to New York, and you know sometimes when you're in New York, you don't go out to the bullpen. You're like back behind the windows,
Yeah.
watching the game on TV, like I was saying. So you're not always out there in the environment. Then sometimes you go out there in the environment, and once you start warming up, it'll hit you, and you're ready to go. So those are, you know, places like that. Like Houston's a good one too, just because for me, like that's home. And then two, the bullpen there it's one of the best bullpens in the league because nobody can see the visiting bullpen. You can see the home bullpen, but the visiting bullpen, like we're out in left center, and then above us is the concourse. And that's it. And we're in like this cave almost. And when we're in there warming up and you throw fastballs, it's just boom, boom, and it sounds really cool. So you get fired up even more. So it's a little easier in environments like that to get fired up and go pitch. So Chicago, I would say, you know, Wrigley's one like that too, just because it's also indoor. Like you're not out there, you're not out in the jungle yet. You're still kind of pulled back, but once that door opens and Wrigley, you're in the middle of the jungle. You're right in the middle of Chicago, and you know, it's a lot of fun.
Boy, it's cool to hear all that because you're talking about some of the teams I've watched growing up. Chicago is my hometown. You know, you mentioned like the crowd. Does that play a role in which field is like the hardest to play, or is that different?
Um, I say no. For me, no. Some
Okay.
guys would tell you it's different. I mean, don't get me wrong. We all have our favorite stadiums we love to pitch at. I love pitching in Boston. I love pitching in Seattle.
Yeah.
Dodger Stadium's pretty awesome to pitch at as well. When you go to Dodger Stadium, it actually sounds like you just, especially during like BP stuff, it sounds like you're just in a club.
Oh,
It's just the music. It's just absolutely banging. So that aspect of it's really fun. No, like that part of Dodger Stadium is really, really cool. And just being able to pitch there in the ambiance. I mean, it does have a lot to do with the history of some of these stadiums that I've mentioned. Dodger, Yankee,
sure.
Boston, Seattle. Everyone. I mean, I just like pitching in Seattle. Seattle's just a fun place to pitch. That's why it's one of my favorites.
Interesting. Okay, I'll watch out for that.
Mm-hmm.
We always on this show we always talk about like the technology, kind of running through that being an important part of your craft, which it is. But you alluded to something about sleep. How important is that to you when you're talking sleep, health, nutrition? What's that like in conjunction with the therapy that you're using? The direct current technology, and then everything on top of it, and then having to perform under these stressful environments.
The sleep is probably one of the more important things. It really is. We always joke about other types of recovery and whatnot. Sleep is the best form of recovery that, any human being can actually get. It doesn't matter who you are. So, I can just give you a quick, just this past week, we had a game at Jacksonville that was supposed to be at 5:00, and it kind of just got pushed and pushed and pushed. I think we ended up leaving there around 7:30-ish. I don't remember 7, but we all get back to the hotel and it's like, we're all still so wired to still be up and awake. So it still kind of takes us all a while to go to bed, even if we just didn't play that day.
Yeah.
But we had a 4:45 a.m. bus the next day to Jacksonville, or to the airport. I think I told my wife, I was like, I don't even remember that morning. I don't even remember much, just because I was so out of it from just the lack of sleep that I had. I think I got 3.5 or 4 hours of sleep, just because it was like, I can't really get myself down right now. And so like stuff like that happens, but thankfully like it's an off day. So we bus to the airport, fly from the airport to Atlanta to Memphis, and I'm here in Memphis now. But I remember that day, it was like, I think I took a 20 or 30-minute nap, and I'm a guy that's like, sometimes I don't want to do that, just because I want to make sure that night I crashed out.
Sure. Yeah.
And I did. That next night, that night I ended up crashing out. I got like 10.5 hours of sleep. I haven't gotten 10 hours of sleep. I couldn't tell you last time I got 10 hours of sleep.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't even know if I got 10 hours of sleep like before my kid ever. I'm serious. I don't even know if maybe 9 would be pushing it. But I got 10 hours of sleep that day, and I woke up the next day feeling amazing.
So, yeah, sleep is definitely important. Yeah.
Oh, man, yeah. But especially just after games in general, try to wind down as much as you can. And most of the time, I try to be asleep. Most of the time, I would say by 12:30, like 12:30 midnight is probably I think that's a sweet spot for me, at least, that I try. And I try to get anywhere from 7.5 to about 8.5 hours of sleep. I know that's a pretty good window for me personally. That
Sure.
I get good sleep, and I'm optimal and I'm ready to go the next day.
That's fantastic. Yeah, sleep is definitely underrated, especially when it comes to playing at your level. So it's especially after getting a double header. I'm kind of excited that sounds like you're going to be able to get some sleep.
Oh yeah, we're good. We got a late bus today too.
Matt, it looks like you were able to get off camera and wipe the tears out of your eyes and come back. So welcome back.
It was me trying to avoid my $10 bet that I was crying because of the anxiety of the bullpen. It's funny. My computer, gotta love technology, decided to reboot and go through some updates or whatever. I don't know, but. So now going back to one question that I had, because I know a lot of the starters that utilize direct current get to warm up with it and minimize the stress of their bodies warming up. Do you get an opportunity to keep the direct current in the dugout and help you fire up before you go in, or not? I don't know if that was asked.
No, I don't. I don't. It kind of depends where you are.
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't think most. I really don't like. I don't think it'd be an issue if people had done if people do that. Like they actually brought it out to the bullpen and used it beforehand. I don't. That's a really good question. I've never seen anyone. I've never seen anyone use an actual unit, whether it be the arc wave or another type of unit before, like right before we go out there. So that would be interesting.
Yeah,
I
the reason
normally
I
put it
ask is
on.
the Twins. I mean, I know that we, I don't want to name drop, but they had a player, that literally felt that gave them such a boost. And I believe they were a starter, maybe a middle reliever. I'm not sure, but
Mhm,
because it fires everything up
definitely.
and it takes a lot of that, so you're not getting those 20-minute warm-ups before, you know what I mean? It's a fine line. I just was curious if that was something that you did, but
Yeah, no, I mean, I put it on. I put it on. Always. It's usually the very last thing I put on after
okay.
my warm up
Mm-hmm.
as my last like shock, and then I'll put it on. Probably, let's see, what do I do? I probably have it on. Probably bet you an hour and a half, hour 45 before I actually like pitch.
Yeah.
You know what I
Okay.
mean? So
Yeah.
like I'll go through my full pregame routine, and then kind of the last thing I do also is I use the unit right before I'm about to walk out to the dugout and to go to our bullpen. That's kind of been my routine all season, and so I'm gonna keep doing. I've like I said, I'm gonna keep doing that because it's been working for me personally, and I would maybe like to explore, I guess, doing it a little sooner to actually when I think I'm gonna pitch. That would be interesting. I
Yeah.
haven't really thought about that at all. No.
And for
Okay.
what it's worth, I don't know if you are, Justin, but I know a lot of other pitchers are very superstitious. I learned that a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah.
So if that's the case, we don't want to throw you off of any routines you
No,
have and be if it's working the way you're doing it, perhaps you just keep it that way, and keep the success you have going.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like stepping on the baseline. It's like all these
Oh yeah.
crazy, the mound, where you throw the ball,
No
like all that
doubt.
stuff. It's kind of it's crazy. I can't even imagine the process that you go through with just the mental side of, okay, I'm jumping over that, the third base line if you're going to the dugout or whatever the
Yeah.
case.
I have a teammate that I've played with that he paces in the dugout X amount of paces, and then does a quick little thing with his feet. What I don't know what he's doing with his feet. Does this quick little like tap or chicken scratch thing with his feet, and then he does that the entire inning. So I mean, y'all are right on brand with what y'all are talking about.
No, you don't even want to be golfing with me to see me stand over a putt and the stuff I've got to go through to try to even make that putt. It's like a 30-minute process.
That's too much. You just got to get up there and putt. That's
Yeah.
what Cam Smith's the best putter in the world. That's what he says. He goes, "What do you want to do? Take practice swings for? Get up there and go."
There you go.
Well, I know it's good, but it's the mental side. I got to make sure that I know it's going in, not I hope it goes in. It's kind of
Right?
like,
You got to see it go in before it goes in.
yeah, the second you hope that you're throwing,
Oh yeah.
well, you're done, right? It's
Yes.
you got to believe. It's like White Tiger was such a good putter. I mean, he believed with every ounce of his being that putt was going in every
No
time.
doubt.
And it's got to be the same as a pitcher or quarterback. I mean,
Sure.
the mind stress of what you guys go through. That was great story to hear about that bullpen phone, the phone ringing. That was intriguing. Yeah.
It's true. It's so funny. And I've had a pitching coach, and when he pitched in Milwaukee, we played in Milwaukee last year. He made the joke. He goes, "Thank God we're in that bullpen right there." I was just like, "What do you mean? Why?" He goes, "Because that bullpen phone gives me anxiety and makes me go nuts." And that was the bullpen that was the bullpen he played in when he played in Milwaukee.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's funny.
So they're getting you prepared. It's not the old school anymore where they're going out to the mound, a coach, and then he's just throwing up his left or right hand to, get somebody ready to come in, right?
Right. Yeah. It's we got the phone call way ahead of time. We have, I would say most of the time you have a decent amount of time
Okay.
before you're going in. Sometimes don't get me wrong, that phone rings and you only get 3 pitches in the bullpen and you're in the game.
Yeah.
I've had that happen before.
I mean, I got a million questions. We can go forever, but tell us, in your opinion, I love now baseball and what they've done to speed up the game. It's incredible, right?
Mm-hmm.
I talked to one team and they said, other than pitchers, every infielder, every outfielder, they would love to start at the count at 1-1 just to kind of speed it up even more, right? But as a pitcher, how does that affected you? You know, with the pitch clock and all that, has it changed your rhythm?
Yes and no. It's changed my rhythm into like the new rhythm, I guess, so to speak.
Okay. Yep.
I used to be a guy that I really took, especially like with the running game, because now we only get 3 pickoffs, and after that third one, if you don't get the guy, they get to go to the next base, which
it's crazy.
That's a different topic for another day.
Yeah.
Right.
But I took a lot of pride in being able to hold the running game, and I think I still do a pretty good job of holding the running game. But before the pitch clock, I mean, I was a guy, I'd stand on the mound 12, 15 seconds. Sometimes it'd be like I'm just gonna hold the ball, and I'll let the hitter call time if he wants to call time, and if not, I can step off and I'll step off and we'll run it back.
Yeah.
And sometimes I look back at stuff like that. I'm like, man, I was part of some of the problem that it was. He was just the human rain delay of just slowing the game down entirely too much, maybe in that regard. But as far as like the whole pitch clock itself goes, I don't have an issue with it. As I think if anything, it's changed our conditioning side of things, more so to speak.
Yeah.
The conditioning side of things is probably a little bit more dialed in now, I would say, just because of the amount of recovery seconds that you actually have. Especially when I debuted, you come up, it's all right, I got the ball, let me kind of do this, let me look around real quick. Then next thing you know, 10 seconds has already gone by, and it's like, all right, let me get back on the rubber, let me get my sign. And now we're at 25 seconds maybe, probably by this point. We're just hanging out because, especially if you got runners on base, you got runners on second base, the catcher's sitting here doing this a bunch of times. So
Right.
And then even then, that's the thing. Even then, I would still be like, no, I would shake off and I'd step back off. And now, next thing you know, like I'm talking right now, but it's like maybe we've already gone through a minute of time and I haven't even thrown a pitch yet. So I'm okay with the pitch clock. I think that would actually end up being, kind of good for the game as far as speeding things up, someone like myself, I just said. So that part I don't really have an issue with. Even the pitch comm, I like the pitch comm. I think it works great. Don't get me wrong. I'm the same guy too that'll sit there and say like, we want all this technology in the game, but like we have errors so many times with the pitch comm still. I've had, times last year and I've had times this year where it's like my catcher's looking at me pushing the button and I look at him like a deer in the headlights and I'm like, dude, I don't know what's going on. I can't hear it. And he's sitting there still pushing. I'm just like, and then you look at the clock and it's like, all right, we're at 3 seconds, 2, and it's like, crap, got to step off. So then it's like you kind of, especially if you have runners on base in that situation, like you burned a step off at that point. So that's one of the things that like, I guess that's one of the things we still haven't kind of quite perfected. It's like just that small error that we get with the pitch comm still that still happens, whether you're in the big leagues where it happens. I don't know if they do pitch comm in AA, but it happens here in AAA too all the time still.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because it's like, we're like proud parents. Every time we get great athletes like you that we get to build relationships with, have conversations, we kind of vicariously get to live through you guys. So to the superstitions all the way to, getting through and career, one of them in particular that we're so proud of is Matt Boyd, who's made the All-Star at 34.
Yeah.
Very excited. He came through, worked with direct current and rehab. What's interesting, he's got, I think, maybe, I don't know this, but it looks like he does a pitch count on his belt, right? He's got
something. Yeah, there's some guys that do that.
And is it just to try to, I mean, obviously, is it so that he knows his pitch count, or is that really the intent of why he's fiddling with a pitch count on his belt?
No, that's him wanting to call his own game is what that is. So, like, they have multiple sets. So, they have the Velcro set where you can put it on your glove. Okay. Or you can put it on your, like you just said, Matt's probably putting on his belt loop somewhere. And there's, I don't know how many guys actually do that in the league. There is a number of guys that do that though. And I know there's a few guys in Chicago for us right now that do it as well, but that's all it's really for. It's just so that way, like the pitcher himself, if he can call his own game, if he wants to call his own game, or say he saw a foul ball or he saw a certain swing a certain way that the catcher kind of maybe miss, the pitcher can just be like, I want to throw this pitch instead. So that's more so what it is. It's about also having control. It's all about having more control of your game than you did before, really. Just so that way it's like immediately, tap the button and go, or you don't have to wait around.
Is it more than just pitch count? Does he have fastball and sliders? And does he kind of?
Oh yeah, all the pitches are on there.
I
would say it's probably the hardest part. Yeah, it's all the pitches. It's all fastball, slider, curveball, changeup. I don't know how many buttons are actually on there. I want to say there's about. That's funny. I've never even looked at the catcher's little button thing. I want to say it's about 9 or 10 buttons though. And they do have to memorize the buttons because they have to memorize where's the fastball button, where's the cutter, where's this, slider button. So that part though, they're always covering it up with their hands still. So they have to know it's a keyboard. They have to know where the keys are.
Yeah. Wow.
That aspect. And it's the same if the pitcher.
You've got a clock now. You've got this. You got
so much.
It's
moving parts.
It's good.
I think that's the reason why some of the pitchers want it on themselves at times. It's like sometimes you get a foul ball, and I've never paid attention to this. Sometimes I feel like if you get a foul ball, the clock, like the second you get the ball back, the clock starts. And I honestly don't know. I don't pay attention to stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it gives the pitcher the freedom to the second he sees a foul ball a certain way or he sees a pitch a certain way, it gives him the freedom to be like, boom, click slider, click changeup. And then while the catcher's still getting the ball from the umpire, turn around, grab the next ball from the umpire and throw it in to the pitcher. The catcher hears it right away too. He's like, okay, he just called slider. He wants to throw slider here. So we don't even need to, there's not much else we need to do. We can just roll right into it.
Yeah,
it's kind of nice.
It is kind of nice to see. It's obviously his process. I don't watch a lot of baseball, but watching that, I always get nervous because it's like, old school baseball. It's like, God, is that where he's putting his Vaseline or is that where he's putting his car? So I got to ask. I mean, because these umps are when you're coming off the field. Is it every inning? Are they looking at your gloves and all your stuff, or is it just how often is the umpire and what is he looking for?
So now it's, at least when relievers come to the game, I would say 99.9% of the time they check you before you get in the game.
Okay.
They check your hands. They check your hands, glove, belt, and hat. And I'm gonna be honest, sometimes some are lenient. They don't check your belt. They won't check your hat. Right. It's just they hate it. These umpires don't like it. They tell us all the time, I'm sorry, we have to do this. This sucks.
Yeah.
Hey, can you take your ring off, even though if it's a silicone one? Like, God forbid you have some type of sticky or some type of substance on your silicone wedding ring, of all things. It's just one of those things. So I always, usually the first thing I always do is, I jog, and by the time I'm slowing my jog down, I take my ring off, put it in my pocket, and then I proceed. I just handle my glove and then, go from there. And then I've only had a few times where if I came in, the middle of a game, especially, 6th, 7th, 8th, I would say it's very minimal where they'll check me after I pitch.
Okay.
Sometimes, and that's the thing. I don't know with the umpires. I don't know what the situation is that makes them be like, we'll just get you after. Because you look at them, you're looking at them, and you kind of slow your jog because you're like, we know that we're waiting, and they'll just be like, just go pitch. It's like, okay. And then usually it's either the third base guy or it's one of the base umps. Usually that'll come check you at the end of that inning for the most part.
Yeah, if they're like, man, this guy's throwing some great, he's got something going. You know what I mean? How often do they catch? How often do they catch a guy?
I don't think, as far as I know, I don't think anyone's been caught with anything this year. So I think so far, everything's been pretty even keeled as far as I know. Okay. I don't think anyone. I haven't seen a guy in AAA get caught or a warning. I haven't seen a guy last year get caught or warned either. So for me, it's zero.
Yeah, I don't think it is.
One last question that I got to ask, just because it is amazing how many baseballs are being used, right?
Yeah.
Is it give our listeners and myself, just to get educated?
Mm-hmm.
Every little scuff now gets tossed away.
Oh,
Why is that? Is it just because of what you guys can do to the baseball, or is it just the 100%. Feel of? Is it what's the reason for brand new baseballs all the time?
So especially when the ball hits the ground, that's the ultimate umpire freak out. Get a new ball in the game. So like if you give up if a ball hits the ground, like it can be a ground ball to the shortstop, it could be a ground ball through, between, up the middle or the holes at first and second base, and guy gets a base hit. Next thing you know, you're like, look, you watch the hit, you kind of watch in case you got somewhere to be, whatnot. And then next thing you know, you start hearing your name from either the catcher or the umpire, and it's them telling you new ball, and the position player will throw the ball out. It's crazy. And there's been a few times, where I've gotten a ball back, from the field, and I'm looking at it and they're switching the ball out. They want to switch it. I'm like, there's not even a scuff. There's nothing wrong with this baseball.
Do you want the scuff as a pitcher?
100%.
Okay.
Oh, you want that
like a wiffle ball, right?
You try everything you can to make sure that ball gets back in your glove, especially for a guy like me. I got a sinker, so like I know how to use that scuff. If that scuff's on the right side of the ball, the side of the ball that I need it to be on, I'm not throwing that thing back, and I'm about to throw you. You're about to get a sinker.
Yes. So you're waving off that pitch because I've got the scuff I need. This is coming. Yeah,
100%. But then the other side of it too is, and this needs to get projected more than anything. I think it's every single baseball is different. They're not the same. Yeah. None of them are the same. I don't care what. It's not about what MLB's saying. It's just about what's actually happening. Like, for some reason, these baseballs are still hand sewn. And the seams are all different. It does not matter. I don't care where the box of balls actually come from. They're all different. And that's the most frustrating thing. We're the one sport, I'm pretty sure, that I know of, that the ball, the object that, I guess, so to speak, scores points, I guess. You obviously hit the ball in the gap, it runs score, you get points, 8 runs. Right. It's not concrete. Tennis is concrete. It weighs the same. Yeah. Football, I believe football has to be like 15 ounces or whatever. The footballs are supposed to be the same. Basketball, got to be the same. Golf, everyone's using the same golf. Like everyone's using, Titleist Pro V1s on tour pretty much. It's the best ball on tour. But not us. And that's the thing. Me and my trainer in the off season, we opened up a brand new box of baseballs because at the end of the year, you get a box of big league baseballs for the off season. Get a brand new box of baseballs sometimes and weigh them. They're all different.
That's crazy.
We've had weights anywhere from, I think a baseball is supposed to be 5.5 ounces is what it is, and we've gotten baseballs 5.2 all the way to 5.7.
That's incredible. Wow.
It is. And the seams are not the same either. Because sometimes even like we play with big league baseballs here at AAA, and we all joke, and it's like, oh, look at these seams. These seams are so high. Like, why do we have high seams on a baseball? Why can't they all be, the standard low seams that, some guys like the high seams because they like being able to rip their breaking balls. But me personally, I love the low seams on the balls because they spin tighter. Yeah. And they'll spin more true. And then, like, you hear the hitters, too. The hitters, like, certain hitters think the balls are dead this year. And it's like, I don't think the balls are dead this year at all by any means.
Yeah.
But the makeup of them, sure. Like, we can talk about that all day. Like, maybe you got a bad baseball to hit.
Yeah.
Based on what you're saying, Tom Brady would be a good pitcher.
Exactly. So
probably would.
We could talk for hours because I'm so intrigued, but I do have one more question. The umpire. Okay. When and if, what's your thought on replacing the umpire with obviously technology? What is your thoughts on that as a pitcher?
So I got to have the ABS system last year in AAA when I first got there, and the way it worked was it was the ABS system for 3 straight games. So the umpire made zero calls. The only calls they were making were out and safe.
Okay, makes sense.
And he had his little intercom thing in his ear, and when it was a strike, he was told, strike, and he'd make his strike call. And so for 3 games, like, you think you like it and you can get used to it. And then after those 3 games, the next 3 games of our series, you had challenges. You had 3 challenges last year. Now it's 2.
Okay.
I think they realized 3 was kind of a lot. And I do think 3 is kind of a lot of challenges. Like, I don't think sometimes people give these guys enough credit for how good they actually are in
Right.
real time. But at the same time, I also understand people's frustrations. Like, don't get me wrong, like I see the big league games that are happening. I follow a couple of the umpire auditor accounts, and they're really good. They're really honest, and it's just like some of these calls. It's like that can't be a strike. Like, and this is coming from me as a pitcher. It's like that's just not a strike. Like it's not. That's a bad. Or it's like them. Or then you see the ones this season. Oh, what's the one? There was one. So it was Yamamoto.
Mm-hmm.
Just recently, it was maybe last week or 2 weeks ago, he was going for an immaculate inning. And I'm not kidding. This ball it looked like it was probably, so from the top of the strike zone, it looked like it was about 3 inches inside of the strike zone, and he balled it.
Wow.
So it's stuff like that. It's like, that can't happen.
Right.
And I think, at least we talk about this a lot in the game. It's like the umpire union, like they got a really strong union too. It's like these guys don't get fired. I can get fired right now. I can get a phone call right now and I can get let go.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't happen for them. There's no repercussions for being bad at your job.
Well, hopefully
and it's a performance-based industry essentially too for them. You are based off your performance to make the right call, strike ball.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like I just said, there's no repercussions for being wrong. And I think there's been a lot of jokes, and some of them are kind of serious. It's like, relegate them.
Yeah.
If you're not going to hold to a certain percentage for maybe not a certain game, but like maybe it's a certain week stretch or a couple weeks, or because they rotate behind the plate too. So maybe it's like every 3 or 4, like your strike percentage, your not strike percentage, but your accuracy percentage was, not where it was supposed to be. You got to go to AAA.
Right.
And we got to bring these guys up. So like, there's times like we've had catchers come through here, like a couple of rehab catchers come through here. And I even think this too. I think the AAA strike zone right now is actually better than the big leagues.
Huh.
I think the AAA umpires are more in tune with the strike zone just because of the challenge system.
Interesting. Yeah.
Because now it exposes them a little bit when they're wrong. But damn, I'll tell you, when they're right, it's crazy. I mean, I think I've challenged a total of 3 times this season, and I'm 1 for 3.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's because
So
you can feel it. Like you almost
definitely.
It's like I threw the FL too good.
And the thing is, the times I've been wrong, that's where I pat myself in the back. The times I've been wrong, I think the biggest margin of error I've been wrong on was 0.4 inches. Yeah. So like, at least I know, like me personally, I was challenging. I was like, man, I'm challenging something. I think it's right there. And then they pull it up on the screen and it's like, it's the 0.1. I've had one at 0.1 before. And I was like, are you kidding me?
Wow.
I was like, I was wrong by 0.1 of an inch here. So
that's impressive.
I don't think we're going to get, I say I don't think, but they're doing the ABS in the All-Star game this year. I don't know if y'all have seen that. So each team will get 2 challenges, and it'll be interesting because it does hold the umpires accountable, and they don't want to be wrong. They want to be, trust me, those dudes want to be right more than anybody else.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Because then it's like, then their credibility starts getting questioned.
100%.
Yeah. And I got to tell you that the only way you're getting fired from this conversation, honestly, is if whoever is responsible for the standardization of the baseball in MLB has a lot of clout. That's the only way you get fired after this conversation.
It's MLB owns Rawlings. That's all I'm gonna say.
There you go. I love it. Well, listen, this is the technical side of what you do and you pitchers, and I think that's why Jake loves working with all you guys, is because you guys are so in tune, right? And Jake was the one that said negative, things about the NFL guys. So
he's trying to get me in trouble again.
I would say I've been around a few NFL guys too. I would say, stuff I've seen. I think quarterbacks are the most relatable to baseball players.
Correct.
Yeah,
because they are very similar whip. Yeah, they work with the same muscles. Yeah,
it's the same muscles. It's the hips fire, and it's that front. It's feeling the ground on that front hip. And as far as like, see, this is a different tangent now. I don't mean to go off on it, but it's like in baseball, you need every muscle to play. I can't play with a broken finger. I don't think I could. I don't know if I could grip. Obviously I can't grip a ball. Can't really squeeze a glove probably. and I don't think I could swing a bat. I can't play. I mean, you can play with a bummed up ankle. I've done that before. You can play with a few banged up things, but it's like in football and basketball, it's like it's just different to toughen through things. I think in those sports, in certain regards, there's different compensations. Does that make sense? Like, and I could catch a lot of heat for that, but I genuinely believe there's certain aspects in those two sports, in particular, in hockey. Even, I mean, those hockey players are different. They'll play with a broken face.
Yeah, those guys are a different breed.
Those guys are a different echelon with like pain and tolerance. But I feel like just as comparing baseball to those two sports, we need everything. I feel like, and you can have a tweak this or tweak that. It's like I can't throw a baseball. I can't swing a bat. I can't do my job.
Right.
As opposed to the two, it's like it's more of the physical aspects. Like I can gut this up for this play. I can gut this up for another quarter or whatever type of stuff. And like I said, maybe I catch some heat for that, but I really do think that's a kind of a small nuance in the sport world that doesn't really get talked about a lot.
Well, you hit a nerve there with compensation, right? I mean, every sport, right? If you're compensating because of an injury, right, you're guaranteed even more injuries, right?
100%.
Compensation is going to come, and the education of direct current and this technology, we're still. And I want to ask this: I'm still shocked that it's not more prevalent in all the sports, whether collegiate, high school, whatever, and because it helps so much neurologically, and it isn't like the traditional TENS unit. It's like an extension of your
100%. Yeah.
I mean, how and why? I mean, why is that so? Why is it still the direct current such the best kept secret? And it takes you. It sounds from your perspective, you had to hear from 3 other big leaguers to go, okay, let me give this a try.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is the case? Because there's just so much technology out there that nobody. Or what is it?
I think sometimes, especially in baseball, I think sometimes it's just the lack of wanting to expand and try new things, maybe, is what it comes down to. And a lot of other times, I think it comes down to how can certain organizations get the best deal for things. Mm-hmm. This is a little different. I just saw, I was watching the Netflix documentary with the quarterback and the BFR units they had. There was Kirk Cousins walking and their BFR units in the back. And I was like, damn, they got so many of them. I was like, well, they got a lot of guys too. That makes a lot of sense why you'd have, an extra surplus. And so I know with us, we have a couple of those same units. And then I'm thinking about the ARP and I know specifically, I don't think we have a unit like that right now. And there's been other organizations where we don't really have types of TENS units like this. Even, it's really all about, for me, it's just sometimes it's not lack of knowledge. That's not an appropriate term. It's more so just wanting to expand, be more open-minded. I think that's where a lot of it comes from, is how open-minded an organization can be. And don't get me wrong, I've heard, I play with guys from all over now that different orgs, they do this, they use that. It's like I've never heard that, I've never experienced that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where a lot of it comes from. There's a lot of things that I know that they have in Chicago now that I talked to a lot of the trainers with last year, and I firmly believe there's some of the things that and there's a few guys that aren't there this year that are with other teams that were making the same push for things we should have this, we should try to use this modality. There is a lot of success with this, so that is for me where it comes from. And I will say Chicago is a little more open-minded with things, and I'm thankful for that, because they've helped me a lot in my career with staying healthy and different ideas to stay healthy. So I think that's where most of it comes from, at least in baseball, for sure.
Yeah, when we see that, I think honestly we're seeing it, just so you know, it's the players. I mean, you guys are the ones that are pushing that, because success begets success, right? And so as a player, and I've heard this in every training room, we're obviously all over MLB and NFL and inside the locker rooms, if you will, but it's amazing how many times that modality or direct current comes into the locker room because player XYZ had such great success. Right. And then all of a sudden that those say, okay, let's bring this in for other players. And then that kind of success leads to, especially in pro sports to start getting this technology for themselves off season so they can, become better, faster, stronger. And so it's interesting for us, but I got to tell you what a great, other than my disconnect, which was probably the best thing that happened to this interview, because then you didn't have to listen to me. This was a great one. Jake, again, rock star stuff here.
Yeah, I was very excited to see Justin on here. So yeah, great to have you on.
This was awesome. I appreciate the conversation that we got to have. Good,
and we wish you all the best. We're here for you. You plugged Jake a little too much. Now he's going to hit me up for a raise, so that's never good.
He's so cheap. I'll just ask for like an extra nap time or something.
He does get nap time. It's written in his contract, and I hope it pours today so you get an off day. Does that?
Oh man, don't say that, because sometimes we joke about that. We're like, man, we're gonna get rained out today. We have a pseudo off day. We'll play 2 tomorrow. I had a teammate yesterday joke. He's like, we can play 3-5s. I think I can do 3-5s.
Too funny.
15 innings, big dog. It's different. That's a stop. It's a start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. It's different.
Yeah. Well, the painful part, and I don't think they do it as much, but oh my God, when they do those 6-hour rain delays, you're like, come on, people. I mean, this is bad enough for the poor guy sitting in the fans, trying to just wait out. Who's waiting 6 hours to watch a baseball game? You poor guys have to sit there and go, just call this thing out so we can get back to our hotel, please.
I don't think I've been a part of one that long. I've been a part of some long ones before, but thankfully nothing like that. I mean, most of the time too, especially like if it's a day game and it starts raining, that time just gets pushed and pushed and pushed. And pushed
right.
And pushed.
That's
the worst part. When it's a night game, there's a little bit of leeway, and it's like, all right, we'll just play doubleheader tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I can't imagine how it is. The anxiety, especially as a pitcher.
As a starter, man, that's the thing that I always give the starters credit when stuff like that happens. It's they're so tuned in with the routine. When those rain delays happen, it's like, their world kind of stops for a second. It's like I feel like they themselves have to recalibrate their routine to figure out, one, how to stay locked in, and then two, how to, once they get that time for, the game start time, it's like, okay, I have this amount of time. But I would say most of the time, like if there's enough heads up, they know how to delay the routine pretty good to where if they say, hey, we're starting in 35 minutes, or not 30, I would say about 35 minutes, to be like, okay, they're ready to go.
Yeah.
But no, you're 100% right, especially as a starter. That delay, it's not a fun one. I've been a part of them, because then you just sit there and you're like, sometimes you just get in your own head. You're like, all right, what's about to happen? What do we got to do here? What do I need to do now? What do I need to do to stay locked in?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I remember last year I played with a guy that we had a couple of rain delays, and it actually, sure enough, it happened on his start more than a couple times. He would stay locked in by playing ping pong.
Okay.
That was his thing. He would play ping pong to stay locked in, and that's probably not a bad way to stay locked in. Ping pong's really good for neuro and whatnot. So it probably helped him out, if anything.
Yeah, I love it. Well, listen, we'll go on, since we're recording this, let's go on the record. We want to get an interview with you after next year, or either before or just after the All-Star game that you're going to appear in next year. So can we get a commitment of that to go on record after next year's MLB All-Star game?
I think so. That would be beyond ideal.
Okay, good. We've got you locked in.
Awesome.
Listen, appreciate the insight. This is inspiring. Wish you all the best. We're here for you. We're so glad that you've discovered direct current. And if there's anything that you ever need, please don't hesitate to grab us. If anybody wants to follow you on Instagram, is there? Do you have an Instagram account?
Yeah, my Instagram account's @janderson_22.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Awesome. Well,
Justin, we're pulling for you, buddy.
I really appreciate it, guys. Thanks, Matt, and thanks, Jake.
Always be in touch.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Take care. Have a great day, and good luck today. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. The rain is pouring down, and you're getting off.
Take care.
Take care, guys. I appreciate it.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.